Ani, shall we start?
Yes, yes, I. So there's some echo at your end.
Yes. So, good evening, one and all. Sir,
Hi.
yes. So my name is Sai Kiran, sir. I'm a program manager here at EQUIPPP Social Impact Technologies Limited. So, as the name suggests, we are a new age technology company, and we basically provide technology offerings such as book building tools, impact assessment marketplace for various players in social impact space like governments, local bodies, CSR agencies, non-profits, and so on, sir. So we are conducting this lecture series and webinars with the subject Social Capital of India, and we are trying to bring the people in social impact ecosystem together and share knowledge. As an organization, we believe in cross-sector collaboration, and we want to evolve those cross-sector partnerships. Hence, these mediums act as a very good platform for these discussions to happen. So, with this, sir, I will request my teammate Fanindra to just introduce all the speakers, and then I'll ask the director Raj sir to moderate the event.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sai. It's an wonderful introduction of our company and a hearty welcome and a warm welcome to all the speakers here today. And firstly, I would like to take the privilege from the Equip family to thank Amarjit Sinha sir and Rekha Srinivasan ma'am, Anu Mehta ma'am for giving us the opportunity here to host you and a warm and hearty welcome here. We'll start the session today. Uh, I would like to introduce of one of our great speaker today, Sri Amarjit Sinha sir. He's a 1983 batch IS officer of the Bihar cadre. He retired in December 2019 as Secretary Department of Rural Development, Government of India. Later, he was posted as an advisor to the Prime Minister. He has around 4 decades of experience in government, largely in the rural and social sector. He has had the unique distinction of having played a major role in designing Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan program, the National Rural Health Mission, and in bringing about governance reforms in programs for rural areas covering livelihoods, employment, housing, social security, skills, urban development. He is currently a member of PSAB. A warm and a hearty welcome for this webinar, sir. And I would like to take the opportunity to introduce our second speaker, Anu Mehta ma'am. Ms. Anu Mehta ma'am currently holds the position of head CSR at Honda's India Limited. She is a passionate, focused, and experienced professional driven by integrity and strong ethical principles. Ms. Mehta has spreaded several CSR projects in the areas of education, road safety, environment, and health, and has been instrumental in uplifting the lives of people in society. She has more than 25 years of work experience across human resources, industrial relations, administration, safety, security, legal, and CSR. She has worked in several corporate leadership positions in the automotive as well as the FMCG sector. Again, a hearty welcome, ma'am, for this webinar. Now, I would like to introduce our another speaker, Rekha Srinivasan. Ma'am, having an experienced CEO with over 24 years of work in the social sector space, skilled in NGO management, fundraising, and project operations, passionate about rights of the vulnerable and livelihoods of the poor, experience in large-scale project evaluations, program design, and worked on several forward-looking documents for donors and academic institutions. Social development professional with a Master of Arts focused in mass communication, media students with special interest in development communication from Bangalore University. A hearty and a warm welcome to all the speakers today. Now, I would like to introduce our moderator, Rajnikant sir. He's our independent director, Equip Social Impact Technologies. And thank you so much, sir, for being here for moderation. And I would like to give this podium to Raj, sir.
Thank you so much, Sai and Funny, and a warm welcome to Dr. Amarjit Singh and Rekha and Anu. Really glad that you could all make for this event and agreed to throw in your, best expertise from whatever you had, the rich experience that you had. So, without really delaying any further, I want to actually start with Dr. Sinha. Uh, uh, Sir, you have one of the things that Sai had been really impacted recently was your article on the CSR, a plan for CSR to build a rural livelihoods. So I want to start. I want us to start with that point, and to help to understand what your just a high level for everybody's benefit about that article and your 5-point plan, so to say, that has been mentioned in the article, and especially around women empowerment and how women given they are central to rural livelihoods, so how that can be leveraged.
Thank you. And can you indicate how much time you want me to take?
So I think between the three of you, we can take about 45 minutes is what I'm thinking. Sai, Fani, correct me if I'm...
Shall I stop at 10 minutes or so?
I think, yeah, 10 minutes is good.
Thank you, sir.
It's about 8 past 5 now.
Sure.
So do make me end at about 5:18, that is, okay?
Sure.
Okay. I am not very good at timekeeping, so to be absolutely forthright in saying it's time for you to shut up. I'll do that. Okay? Yeah.
All right.
Friends, without wasting any time, broadly, where I am coming from on this, I'd just like to share with you. As many of you would be aware, 1991 marked a clear break from the past in terms of rates of economic progress. We liberalized, we opened up, the private sector came in, a whole lot of things happened. And from what Professor Raj Krishna used to refer to as the Hindu rate of growth, the 3.5 average, 47 to 91, we moved to a trajectory of 7% or so. Overall trend, broad trend over a period of time. Likewise, on the social development side, what we do notice is that 2005-6 is some kind of a watershed, whereafter the rates of improvement, we still have a long way to go, but at least the rates of improvement are a little better. Let me illustrate, and again, corporate social responsibility can play a very important role here, and I'll illustrate how. It's very clear that while we did many things right post-independence, there are a few things where we failed miserably. While we produced the best of IIT graduates who are today people of preeminence in the top CEOs of the top companies, but as a mass education system, we did not do too well. We did quite poorly. One reflection of it is just one single indicator. The 42nd round National Sample Survey, 1986-87, 69.23%, nearly 70%, 6+ females in rural India had never enrolled in a primary school. 69.23%, 6+ females in rural India never enrolled in primary school. This is not 47, this is 86-87. We must have done something very poorly in our initial years on this. And that is why, for many of when we compare ourselves to the East Asian countries, two things make the distinction. Why is it that Malaysia, Thailand, all these countries move much faster? South Korea. World Bank carried out a study in 1991 and published as a book, The East Asian Miracle. They assigned the successes to two factors: development of human capabilities and a proactive state. These were the two major factors why this happened. Friends, where we lagged behind was human capabilities. Therefore, when I say that 2005-6 onwards, we find some improvement, which is faster than before, which is again not across all sectors, but which shows that there is hope. Yes, we had a very bad colonial legacy. We began with a life expectancy of 32 years, a maternal mortality ratio going into 1,000. The Bengal famine staring at us, 1943. all kinds of challenges. We did well on many parameters, but unfortunately on education, which was central to the transformation, because in many ways, and this is where the corporate social responsibility is an issue that I'd like to raise, because civil society has a role in public institutions, improving their accountability, as also in ensuring better outcomes. Across the world, a large number of public institutions, though publicly funded, have boards which are independent of government control per se. And the reason for it primarily is that human capital development requires a multifaceted thrust. In that context, friends, when I say that 2005-6 onwards, if you look at the stagnation of infant mortality rate at about 60, today we are at 28. If you look at maternal mortality ratio of 400 plus even at the turn of the century, today it is down to a two-digit 1997. So it's not that change has not happened. From the 42nd round NSSO situation to the 71st round NSSO in 2014-15, boys or girls up to class 14th, rural or urban, gross attendance rates are identical for boys and girls. Now, this is a big change. Learning outcomes may not have improved substantially with Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, even though quality education was very central to it. But still, we see the difference in participation in schools. Similarly, in some of the other sectors, the gains are there, but not fast enough, and that reflects poorly in our human development rank. We are still at 132. Our per capita income, our life expectancy, our years of schooling, we have a much longer way to go. Now, in doing so, a few things which really make a fundamental difference in a faster shift. One of them is professionals. As all of you know, that government systems were never designed to actually be a development agency. We are a post-colonial society where government and the state was for maintaining public order, was for collecting revenues, and was for a lot of regulatory work. That system of governance thereafter took up the development challenge, but in its structures, functions, and human resources, the skill sets needed to manage systems, we had challenges. We were a federal system. While many of these were state responsibilities, the resources available to states were quite different. And as a consequence, on the equalizing principle, centrally sponsored schemes were started saying that just because a state is poor doesn't mean that children don't go to school, doesn't mean that primary health care is not available. So it was this equalizing principle which made the Planning Commission bring in the centrally sponsored schemes. But having said that, a lot of challenges of governance. And it is here where corporate social responsibility makes a lot of difference. It makes a difference because we have instances and examples of how professionals provided through CSR. It is not the quantum of your money as much as the flexibility of getting professionals into the system who are otherwise difficult to get in government systems. When you are trying to innovate in a project, to shake the inertia of the mainstream, you actually need not many professionals at the field level. Many of you would be familiar with the work of Pradhan. Pradhan was one of those organizations. A few IIM Ahmedabad graduates decided that no, why is it that graduates from IIM Ahmedabad should only go to the private sector? Let them go to the field and work in the social development sector. They gave them the salaries, but they told them, now for projects you please meet the panchayat, the sarpanch, the zilla parishad, manage the resources, program funds you manage at the local level, we'll support you professionally. It was a good approach, and many of them did make a difference. We've had the Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellow, whom we appointed and recruited in the Rural Development Ministry, who again did a good job. So, we have examples from the private sector. One of those initial leaders, Ved Arya, who later joined and runs the Buddha Fellowship now. Ved and his team, through the Buddha Fellows, have started up a large number of new enterprises in rural areas. Custard apple and de-seeding of custard apple, leading thereafter to the pulp being used for ice cream and so on. That was one of these young fellows and their team who worked on it. So the point I wish to make is there are examples galore. For example, we run a large program called the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. It had become notorious because monies had reached when the program began in 2006, even before the ability to spend it. So we had a lot of misadventures of sarpanches buying Bolero vehicles, and that's what gave a bad name to the program. But a lot of that got cleaned up over time. And I just wanted to share with you how in Maharashtra, Hindustan Lever, with their corporate social responsibility funds, provided professionals on watershed management to the Maharashtra Employment Guarantee Team to set up good systems in a couple of districts. The results are very good. Program funds came from government, but the professional came from the Hindustan Lever CSR support. It made a difference. You've seen the work of Ronnie Screwwala and the team, the Sandesh team, the Swadesh team, and what they're trying to do. What he said very categorically, that initially they also were very specific and focused only on livelihoods, production, manufacturing. But now they have taken an approach. No. If you really wish to make sustainable change and progress, you need to work in a wholesome way on all systems in a particular area. Friends, in that context, corporate social responsibility needs to move on and moves, one, to provide the professionals who we need in the field. Two, take that holistic approach that Ronnie Screwwala and the Swadesh team have been talking about. Because the problem is that in a lot of the human capital formation sectors, you don't know where one ends and the other begins. If I am undernourished, I will not learn in school. If I don't learn in school, I will have challenges of health and employment. So education, livelihoods, employment, health, nutrition, skills, they don't lend themselves to narrow departmentalism. Therefore, the local government, the constitutional mandate of panchayats doing something about it. But initially we found that these panchayats became very arbitrary in their exercise of authority because they were monopolistic in their exercise of authority, nobody to challenge them. The good news is that over these years, the livelihood mission and the women who come to the livelihood mission, the self-help groups, we have 90 million women today in rural and urban, 85 million in rural. And they are holding elected panchayat representatives accountable for what they have to do. So this alliance and partnership, forge a partnership of community organizations and elected local governments to create a more accountable and transparent local government. Assign the responsibilities of human capital formation to them. And this is where professionals from CSR, and where you can, as of now, what is happening is that everybody is like a shopping list. One CSR initiative, you build 2 high schools and you think you've done everything possible in education. It doesn't work like that. Do it in 3 villages, but make a difference to those 3 villages. Whether it is supporting enterprise, whether it is supporting education, health, whatever. It's not so much the program fund which is needed. It is that little catalytic fund which transforms. And that is why in my article also I have argued, and we tried to develop a platform, the Mission Antyodaya.nic.in, the site, if you go to each and every Gram Panchayat, each and every year, they carry out an assessment on 143 parameters of their Gram Panchayat in a very independent manner. What is its current stage? How much does it score out of, say, 100? You will find that a large number of panchayats of Kerala score very high, more than 60% in 80% of the Gram Panchayats. Whereas if you go to Bihar, it's just 13.54% panchayats score more than 60%. Most of them are below that, which means on very basics, many of them are still lacking, whether it is human development, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is public services. So when you adopt this wholesome approach, suppose there are 4 villages next to where your manufacturing unit is, maybe just 2 villages. You look at where they stand on Mission Antyodaya rankings. Where are the gaps? What can you do to fill the gaps? What can you do to work with local governments to, on a broader spectrum of development, the Swadesh approach, the Ronnie Screwvala approach of working across sectors? How many professionals can you provide? How much program fund can you leverage? So unless you engage with the system, it's very easy to do things independently. But here are sectors which don't lend themselves to narrow departmentalism. You need to work with a larger frame. And
Sir,
I'll stop. Thank you so much for stopping me. I knew that I'll exceed my time. Thank you. I'll just stop you.
Thank you very much. And it was really indeed, in fact, it brought back my Deloitte days, and Rekha probably would know about Deloitte's pro bono approach to, one of the key programs that we had at Deloitte was providing pro bono services. So, and when you said professional services, that's a very key and important point, because, the human capital is the greatest asset of our country, and that's what needs to be leveraged. And I think CSR departments and corporations hold the key to, across sectors, these professionals. So thank you very much. And I'd now like to go to Ms. Anu. Yeah, so we'd like to hear from you, Anu, on what your best practices are at Honda and what you've been doing, whether it is women's livelihood, because probably that connects back to Dr. Sinha, or, across any of your initiatives that we'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for giving this opportunity. I hope you people can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah. Honda, as you would know, is a very process-oriented organization, and I've been there with Honda for the past 18 years now, more than 18 years now. I used to head the human resources earlier, went on to head the general affairs, as they call it. So, HR, IR, administration, etc. And then now I head the CSR for Honda Cars. And I can relate so much with what Dr. Sinha was talking about. And believe you me, Dr. Sinha, we are actually doing what you are saying. So let me share our example. And since I've been leading this project for the past more than 4 to 5 years, so I would like to explain to you, and there's a lot of work that we have done around it. So I'll take you through a small presentation, which I have made. So when, the topic is, of course, how do you use the CSR funds to boost livelihoods in India? And I think the greatest contribution that the corporates can do is, in terms of providing direct and indirect job creation. Significant percentage of companies in India, in fact, in the last year, I was just reading, so they have talked about, putting their funds on for skilling and education. And in 2023, they did some kind of a survey in which it says that out of 100 companies across the country, 70% have said that they want to increase their CSR spend on education and skilling. Honda is no different. We are exactly the same. So we also think that education and skilling are the areas in which we need to put in a lot of effort, because then we will be directly, contributing to the community. So with that in mind, and look at our vision. This was given by our founder in 1948, Mr. Soichiro Honda. That also talks about being committed to being a company that society wants to exist. So Honda always wants that the society should say that, you should exist as a company. So that's where our entire thing comes from. the whole purpose comes from. Our main focus areas are education, healthcare, environment, and road safety. Because of paucity of time, I'll talk about education, but we work a lot and deep into education, into healthcare area also. And this especially focusing on women. Today, we'll talk about education. So, of course, we partner with government, we partner with community, we partner with NGOs, we plan out things in a very detailed manner. And when I say we plan out things in a detailed manner, it is Honda doing it. We don't just, offload everything to the NGO. We get into everything ourselves, and we value, of course, the impact evaluation, the need assessment, and the stakeholders' feedback. As I said, this is our vision. So objective of corporate social responsibility for Honda is, for us, budget is not a target. The target is to create an impact and change lives of people. So budget is just one part of what is available to us, right? But I personally also think we can create a lot of impact and change. The budget can be small, the budget can be big. Nevertheless, you can always impact the community. Our first initiative was doing health camps. This started approximately 14, 15 years back. And when we would do health camps, the process was that we would provide medicines, we would do awareness on preventive health as well. While, the health camps were a very corrective way of, approaching a CSR activity. The same patients would visit again and again. And why was this? So if you do a root cause analysis, we saw that lack of education, awareness, and knowledge was possibly the reason. And there were three target populations, right? The men, the women, and the children. And because children are, very open to gain knowledge, so we thought from there, 5 years back, that we must work on children first, and create change agents from there. So we started focusing on children, and also we started focusing on women. And as I said, so one of our initiatives on women is also doing very, very well. Today, I talk about education, which is the most important project that we took up. How we went about this particular journey was, first we did a situation analysis, find out what was the gap. So we, within 10 kilometers of vicinity of Honda, we looked at the villages and the government schools which were there. Look at the condition of the buildings. So that was how these, the schools were. These were the classrooms. You could see children, virtually, studying under the sun, and midday meal rooms and all. So, and what I realized was motivation to come to school was only midday meal, And in fact, people would come at 11, the children would come at 11 and leave by 1:30, right? Our thought process was that we need to change lives, right? So we need to change their lives. And our thought process was that they should not come to just have the midday meal, but they should come because there is learning being imparted in these schools. So with this thought, we started off this education project. And in that, what we did was, first we said, okay, let's work on the infrastructure development of government schools. So we worked on infrastructure of the schools, and we studied what was the, existing Right to Education Act saying as to what is required, right? Then we also checked what are the private schools doing and why are the children being, people who could afford were sending their children to private schools. So what was the reason, right? Then we embarked on the project of infrastructure development of government schools. We did up 3 schools fully, and out of which 2 of them are co-ed schools. These are in Rajasthan and Noida, Great Noida. And one of them is a girls' school.
May I?
Only girls' school. Yeah.
Your presentation, I think you've not started the share, screen share.
I'm so sorry.
You have the access code.
Yeah. I'm not used to Zoom. I'm so used to Microsoft Teams. Oh, so you missed out a very important part of my presentation. Wait. Sorry.
I was just wondering.
We were.
And I thought I was presenting and all of you were able to see. Is it okay now? Can you people see?
Yes, ma'am. We can go to the relevant slide, which you were.
Yeah. So I'll go there. So is this okay? Can you see the slide now?
Yeah.
So along with the utility team, we started off with the infrastructure development of schools, right? We did up like in Honda that we do, so daily monitoring, checking, weekly reviews and monthly reviews, quarterly reviews, and then finally, built up 3 schools. And, so anything and everything, we go into detail of everything that we do. So even in terms of furniture, what is to be given, it should be safe and durable. In terms of the schools that we were making in Rajasthan, so we saw that the soil is such that, there was so much of sand everywhere while we were making this particular building. So we did soil filling from locations from UP. We in fact brought 8 trucks of soil and put it in Rajasthan so that we don't have a problem later. You can see the building there, right? So that is a Rajasthan building and it's all green, right? We used alternate material because in Rajasthan, there is a lot of, there are winds blowing, hot winds blowing. So paint doesn't work so well. And this should be sustainable because it's a government school. So you can see the new building, it's a small picture there. And solar was installed because we realized that, if we don't do solar, there'll be a lot of electricity usage and in their government funded schools. So there'll be an issue there. So, that was as far as the infrastructure was developed. And, this is a sample school and this is the girls' school, which has come up in Bhewadi, near Bhewadi. It's a village called Tapukra. And this is where our plant is also. So, but then we realized that, in order to bring this education initiative to a full circle, we need to actually work on the software. The hardware has been created, but the software, which is the children, we need to work on them. So then 4 years back, we also simultaneously started skill and education upgradation in all the 3 schools. So we went about doing a detailed analysis ourselves, made questionnaires, found out as to what was the level of the children, and saw that a class 6 student was not able to read a class 2 book. So that was the kind of condition which was there, So from there, what I understood was we cannot just focus on academics. Also, what we realized, what we need to work on overall development of children. So we work on behavioral aspects, academics, sports, employability skills. All this is something that we need to focus. And for teachers also, we need to focus on their behavioral motivation was an important point, skill in terms of digital literacy, etc., and knowledge, right? In terms of their understanding of the concepts. Then we went about, looking for agencies. We did a thorough check of what some of the agencies were doing. And then we adopted, we started working with an NGO. NGO is basically, there are hands, right? The brain is, it's just Honda. So when I talk about academic activities, we launched digital labs. So in our schools, the students study through, they get digital education. There are STEM labs, there are smart classrooms, there are Bala, which is done all over the, all over the place. Building teacher capability building, we have focused and we have taught the teachers through expert teachers so that their concepts are made better so that they can, teach their students better for a lifetime. Career counseling is done for, group career counseling, and individual career counseling is done for our children right from class 8 onwards. So that's how we've been, working on this particular project. And some of the laurels, not many, because I think I will also overshoot time. Average attendance in all the 3 schools increased from 65 to 99%. Academic results, 100% of our students pass in board exams now, class 12, 10th. and the highest going up to 92 and 87 percentages that you can see. Proficiency in computers has increased from 5 to 89%. And our children win so many competitions. Anything that they participate in, whether it is sports, whether it is national quiz, whether it is getting some kind of award from the president, they are all selected. Intangible benefits, the motivation of the teachers and the principals improved drastically. There was a time when I used to walk into the school, there was a lot of indifference as to why has she come, what is she going to do? She'll give us additional work to do and things like that. And complaining, a lot of complaining. Motivation of the students has increased so much. They are excited to come to school. In fact, I conduct summer camps also in the school, and they, come back saying that, ma'am, please continue with the summer camp so that then, we can continue with the school later. There is a lot of improvement in hygiene, behavior, value system, and health of the students as well as teachers. And yes, we get a lot of government support, because I've been talking to the senior most people in the government, in the education department, and we get a lot of support, whether it is Rajasthan or whether it is UP. That was on the school front, and we continue to do this soft skill journey. But then, as we said, livelihoods need to be created. So now, how do we do that? So what we have done for our children is...
Anu, can you close it in a minute, please?
Okay, sure. So students now, they can either be taken to Honda Vocational Training Institute, which is one of our institutes where we do technical training. They can do class 12 and we put them through vocational classes. And we are soon in the process of making a government girls college. And we'll be hand-holding this college in terms of the soft part. And this will be a hybrid college where the girls will also do degree courses as well as they will also be doing vocational courses. This is HVTI, the Honda Vocational Training Institute, which I was talking about, where our students also do, courses, and then they are employed with the industry. These are the, vocational courses that we run. And of course, this is the college which is going to come up I expect it to come up in 1.5 years' time. And then we just started construction of this college. And then we'll handhold this college, and then we'll make our girls employable. So that's a small example of what Dr. Sinha was talking about. I have many more to give, but there's paucity of time.
Very, very, very impressive. And thank you so much, Anu. I think just that entire journey of how you have methodically and scientifically approached the problem, and not really getting into, just provide food, provide uniform, etc. Right? So it's not really a chalo kar diya CSR type of a thing. And it's a very methodical approach, and how you have actually envisioned the end result beyond the school as well. I think it's a very impressive thing. So moving on to our next panelist and a dear friend, Rekha. Rekha, thank you. So I wanted to actually get your view on, obviously, you being so to say, an umbrella organization with, you work with multiple not-for-profit organizations, and also you're like a bridge between the corporate as well as the not-for-profit. So what is your take on this and collaborations, and what are your best practices that you would like to talk about in the collaboration in the rural, rural development work?
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. And bang on, sir. Sinha, sir, I think you just, summarized the entire journey that we as a country have gone through in terms of development. And it's so heartening to listen to that capsule. I think for nonprofits, the CSR Act actually changed a lot of scenario in which, in the way the nonprofits work. It's not that corporates were not involved in philanthropy before that. There has been a history in India and also outside, where corporates have always played a very critical role in actually bringing in philanthropy and seeing how they can be more useful to the society and contribute towards its growth. I think what CSR Act gave was a little bit structure, but in our personal experience, I come from United Way. We are a global non-profit organization. been in operations for 135 plus years globally, present in over 40 plus countries across the globe. And we are operational in India over the last 35 years. We are present in 9 different locations. We have very slightly different governance structure. We have a very decentralized governance model. So each location has its own governance, like its own board and operating style. Though our vision and mission is same globally, it gives us that space to be more responsive to the local need. Therefore, we have a very decentralized decision making in terms of the way we utilize the grant or the area in which we identify what needs to be done. So, and also, as Sir rightly said, and also how Anu was mentioning, any kind of a community problem, or when we are looking at poverty as an issue, and if we want to move for communities and families out of poverty, we can't stick to one particular way of working. You have to be more holistic. There could be health, there have to be health initiatives, there have to be educational initiatives. Somebody has to work on livelihoods, increasing the income in the family. And of late, if we are looking at environment issues, the way it is impacting lives of the people, especially livelihoods of the poor, we need to be more holistic in our approach when we are trying to find a solution to a problem. I think that is what differentiates United Way as a non-profit compared to any other organization which has a single cause area focus. So we are cause agnostic. What we are committed to is families and communities, and our basic guideline or a goal is how can we move people out of poverty from where they stand as a baseline to the next level. So all our initiatives, whether it's education, healthcare, employability, skilling, or environment sustainability, one of the key indicators is how has it empowered that family or community economically. So is it giving more purchasing power? Has it reduced their expenditure? So these are the basic indicators based on which we work. And in our experience, especially when we look at livelihoods and skilling, livelihoods largely, then we can look at it in 2 buckets. One is job readiness, where people's focus and training and everything alignment is towards getting into a job market. And then we have entrepreneurs. So we have 2 different kinds of people, and therefore I think our approach also when we look at skilling them or education or guiding them needs to be slightly different and very mindful about where we are taking our people to. So that is something that we have done, and very grateful to the new education policy, which has integrated actually skilling as part of the entire education system. So when we act mostly like an advisory kind of a role as well, facilitator role for different stakeholders. One is government, then the donors, individuals and corporates, and also non-profits. And in all these 3 spaces, we see our role mostly as capacity building role, facilitator role, because we get to see information and data at a slightly larger level. We are able to we can afford to be a little bit more critical about things. So we are not like saying this is my project, so everything about this project is perfect. So we can afford to be very critical about either the schemes that the government is coming up with or the kind of programs that we are implementing at the community. So where I see things moving, there is definitely a progress. The way we have moved as a country and as a community, both at the donors end and at the non-profits end, I see more and more, we see a lot more dialogue happening, more healthier, open dialogue happening in each space. One best example that I can talk about what's happening in Telangana is a lot more interface between the education system and the industry. So there are a lot more forums where because especially people who are getting into a job market, for them, the market is the companies which are there in the Telangana region. So unless their skills and their competencies are not aligned through their education process to fit into that system, then once they're out of the school or their college, then you don't see them to be fit. So we are facilitating and seeing a lot more dialogue as to industry coming up and saying, okay, I think this is the kind of programs that you need to run in your STEM classes. okay, this is the kind of, when you run a digital education program, add these components into your courses so that these kids are much better employed when they come out. As a result, today we see a lot of data science courses being offered to students in degree colleges, not only engineering courses, but also degree colleges. A concept about understanding data, looking at information in a more systematic manner is being introduced as part of STEM education in the school as well today. So those kind of initiatives were possible only because there is a dialogue between the industry and the education system today. A similar thing I have seen with the entrepreneurship as well. A lot of people interested in being an entrepreneur. Our farmers being the biggest entrepreneurs, taking majority of the risk that nature poses to them or how the market fluctuates. So we see a lot more enthusiasm in adopting technology among these farmers in reducing the risk that they are at. So this kind of an interface, I think, has opened up. So therefore, there is a lot of hope for collaboration. I think this is the value creation that any CSR organization or the funds that are there for a CSR could be very meaningfully actually invested in. Initially it used to be 1 or 2 corporate leaders who did it. We see a lot more of them actually going towards that. So I think people have moved away from wanting to see only tangible outcomes like infrastructure only kind of investment in CSR to building the human capital. They are interested in doing teacher capability building. They want to see how teachers can learn using technology in classrooms. We have done a large scale actually STEM project in building teacher capability in almost covering 60% of the government schools in Hyderabad city. So one more thing that I feel which I want to bring it to the table is there are a lot of experiments and pilots that are already available. I think what needs to be done is to do things at scale. Doing things at scale means a lot more process, lot more controls, and also, learning to allow people to take liberties and also putting controls in place. Sir, Sinha sir, I think that's where actually people in civil services have a lot more to contribute as well. And we receive a lot more such guidance here in Telangana, because I think doing things in 2 schools, 3 schools is quite, I think we have mastered it. But if we have to do it in all the schools, let's say in Telangana, which are about 4,000 of them, so how do you actually do it? That's the need of the hour. The way our markets are growing, I think we should increase the speed, increase the scale in which we are operating. That's where I feel businesses who have an experience of doing things at scale, of putting processes in place for things to be done at scale, or introducing technology at a critical space to augment deficiency in operations or putting things in control would be a bigger contribution that corporates can bring into the entire CSR space. And I feel that would be more impactful. So I'll pause here. These are few things. I think rest of it was covered by the other 2 speakers. So happy to take any questions from you.
Thank you so much, Rekha. And I think just before I was about to caution you, I think you closed it. So thank you very much. Before I take the questions from the audience, I just wanted Sai to pitch in. We are, as you know, we are a social impact technology company. So we have some of our IP offerings, and the latest one being EQUIPPP, which is a marketplace for insights and impact assessments for various social value projects, including CSR, ESG projects, etc. And so Sai, without me speaking, I think Sai, if you can please pitch in and
Yes, sir. So thank you, sir. So these insights were very helpful for us to fine-tune our model, or in general take this to other players in the social impact space. So like how Raj sir was mentioning, we are a technology company primarily, and our group of young grads from IIT, ISB, we are trying to disrupt this space by sir, you were talking about the Antyodaya survey of the metrics involved in different villages. So what we are essentially trying to do is use technologies like AI, ML to understand the priorities of different geographies, different sectors, and try to bring them at one place. And this will act like a marketplace or a stock exchange in itself, where people can see multiple challenges. And that is the pre-assessment, that is like understanding the challenge. Then the further is basically implementing the project, and that is where after implementing the project, the impact comes into play, impact assessment comes into play. So that is where our latest offering, Equip Insights Exchange, is a marketplace where we are trying to connect three people. One is people who want an assessment, be it a CSR agency, be it a government, or be it a funder. So primarily from the funder point of view or the donor point of view. And the auditors are available. We have a lot of human capital in the form of auditors. The challenge is they sit in New York, they sit in Mumbai, they sit in Kolkata, and they don't really want to travel to Chhattisgarh, or they don't want to travel somewhere to Machilipatnam in Andhra Pradesh and understand what really happened to the student or what really happened there in the hospital. So we are creating a class of social tech professionals. So these people are empaneled with our digital tools, and they're present across various villages in India. Right now, we empaneled around 5,000 people from 30,000 villages. So we are giving them mobile applications. We are teaching them methods to qualitatively and quantitatively ask questions. We are getting them trained by professors from anthropology department, sociology departments, and so on. And these people will work like they will basically collect data. They could be retired teachers, they could be retired forces professionals, or banking correspondents, human ATMs, and so on. So we're basically trying to disrupt the impact space by bringing more people, sir. So we want to understand your views, or we want to understand how technology can improve this space. So as you like, we want you to give us direction for young team here to build upon our models and brings new offerings onto the table in social impact space.
Thank you, Sai.
Thank you, Sai. I think you raised an issue which will keep me speaking for a very long time, because it's a subject in which how technology can be used. Technology as a means. Let me clarify very clearly that I'm a great believer in technology as a means, but not as an end in itself. Because what is the mistake we are often doing is we see it as an end in itself. Now the processes are very it's labor, because it's a lot of effort at the cutting edge level. It's not that it happens. So I recall the government's decision that we'll do IT-DBT, we'll do only payments to bank accounts, Aadhaar linked, everything, But the foot soldiers that you need for that level of operation, we wanted to geotag every asset that we have under the MGNREGS, or 6 geotagged images of every house we are constructing under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. Now, we had a small NIC team, but naturally we needed a lot many people who could do geotagging. We had partnerships with the NRSA and the ISRO. We had a center for geotagging in NIRD in Hyderabad for geospatial work. And we also had a team on social audit there. Now, basically, it involved, what you're saying is, it involved large-scale training and capacity building at an unprecedented scale, actually, because so starting with a training module which we developed at the NIRD in partnership with all the states. So we had our state level resource persons, master trainers, and others. So it was a cascade model, but we had developed a very good course material. When we were trying both the geotagging module as also the IT-DBT module or the Aadhaar linking module. And thereafter, at the state level, they prepared some master trainers and resource persons to go and work in the districts, and thereafter at the block level. But we are also trying to intermingle and also trying to see that whole cadres became equipped in that process. So when it came to matching Aadhaar numbers, databases and all that, get the bank manager and the people on the same day, camp after camp after camp. You can't ask for too much time of people because it is precious. They'll go for wage earning rather than waste time in your processes. So technology on the ground is, requires a lot of hand holding. You need grievance redressal systems because your system should not deny somebody, If you're paying wages through this online arrangement, all at the press of a button, while the convenience is there, but challenges are there. Similarly, for example, you're talking about breaking silos, what can be disruptive? Well, I'm not a startup. I can tell you what we've done, a lot of disruption. But different way. For example, banks had this policy, private and government banks. No, we will have banking correspondents. But the banks pushed a commercial model. They pushed a model which said 1% of incentive of all the transactions that you do, as in the money, and that is how it will operate. Now when you have 1 billion people living in 1 million places, there are many places where the incomes are not so high, where the transactions are not going to be very heavy, which are very remote, a few households there and a few households there.
Sir, you've gone on a mute.
You want to pay the pension, old age pension of a 90-year-old widow on her deathbed. Technology allows you to do that. But then we told, no, this banking correspondent is not going there. So initially, there were rules which said one panchayat, only one bank can have a banking correspondent. We said, to hell with your rules, we want the services at the local level. So our entire effort in the livelihood mission was at developing what we call community resource persons. Our journey from 25 million women in the livelihood mission to 85 million, it has not happened through global consultants. It has happened through foot soldiers. We have with us almost 4.5-5 lakh women from the livelihood mission who are our community resource persons. Who are these women? These are women who've been in poverty themselves. So when we found this as a challenge, that last mile payments, we told our women in the livelihood mission, कि दीदी आप banking correspondent क्यों नहीं बन जाती हैं? आपको हम equipment capital will provide, equipment दे देते हैं, लेकिन आपको जो मिलेगा इसमें benefit होगा आपको whatever that 1% thing, but you have to provide this service everywhere. Today we have 99,000 gram panchayats which have a banking correspondent. Any amount of money we can pay at the cutting edge level. If your UPI transactions have gone forward, it is these foot soldiers who made the difference, nobody else.
Yes, sir.
Who else do you call a disruptor? These are the women who disrupted the system. So it's not that capability doesn't exist, but knowledge is not top down all the time. No, the challenges were very specific. If I start getting into the details, at every stage, we had to have the patience to fight the battle the next day. Now, in your normal system, when you provide the facilities for online payments and everything, your thumb impression, whatever you're trying to track at the cutting edge level, it allowed for authentication only of one signature. Now, self-help groups have a 2-person signing system. So how do we create dual authentication? Most banks said, "Haath khade kar diye unhone, no, we don't do this." So why will you not do this? You're a bank, you want to do BC, why will you not do this? So then we got SBI in Jhabua to actually try out a pilot. It worked. Today the situation is every bank, private or public, has dual authentication. So a lot of these battles were fought over months, but we didn't take it as battles. We took it as badges of honor, one by one, break the walls. Why can't we have more than one bank in one gram panchayat? What prevents us from doing that? What great heaven will fall if we do that? So disruption is about these. If you have foot soldiers, and that's why this whole community cadre and the professionals point that I mentioned to you in the beginning, the livelihood mission derives its strength from these women who've come out of poverty and are now helping others to come out. If I tell you what they do, you'll be surprised that people like this exist in India. We could expand in Arunachal Pradesh, in Nagaland, in Mizoram, in Meghalaya. Women from Andhra and Kerala have gone and lived for 6 months there. Of course, we paid them for it. To form groups. My own home state of Bihar, which may have other challenges, but one area which it makes its name is the Jivika movement. The women in the self-help groups of Bihar, every village in the state is covered. And our callers are also up when our women go to UP and other Hindi-speaking states as resource persons. You go to a village in Bihar and ask them, कोई जीविका दीदी दूसरे राज्य में गई हैं सिखाने? हाँ, वहाँ सिखा के आ रहे हैं अभी. So we are also able to, that that confidence that I am used as a teacher. Here I was a woman in poverty, and today with a little bit of effort, I'm able to move up. So a lot of the disruption at that level is needed if you really want to go on scale. Not much gets written on this, but my next piece, which I'm hoping to write very soon, is on disruption on scale. A lot of what I shared with you will find in that article. But it's good to know these journeys. It's not easy at all. Geotagging. He said, I needed a total of 4 crore houses we were to make. Each of them, we needed 6 pictures before the old house to show that the fellow was in a kacha house. We needed an image at the ground level, at the lintel level, at the roof level, at the foundation initial level, roof casting level, and final complete. And all of them tagged to payment systems. They had to be in public domain. They had to be on a map. Now, getting the geotag right. So how you may click, who's going to click, who's going to do that picture. Now, whole lot of systems. So today we have a 3 lakh workforce at the field level. Could be a panchayat seva, could be a gram seva, could be something else, could be a women's self-help groups member, could be a community resource person, could be whoever who has interest in this. They are local village youths who wanted to do geotag. We said, okay, we'll give you 10 rupees. But you do this correctly. Learn this and do this correctly. So through this system, we now have an army of people at the cutting edge level willing to do this. And that's why what we want the CSR to do is to give us those top class professionals who can use this. That's the Mission Antyodaya survey. If I tell you how much it costs me to get that data which you see on the site, 17, 19 and 23 years, the data is complete for all villages. It has cost me not even 50 lakh rupees. Not even 50 lakh rupees. Because this is how we have been working at the field level. And I can tell you about the reliability of the data. Because it cannot be uploaded each and every Gram Sabha meeting. We can track from our site. The photographs are uploaded. It doesn't cost much. Technology is a great enabler, but it has to be used in this manner. Sorry, I have a illness of continuing to speak longer than I should.
Actually, that's quite inspiring, sir. And I don't think that, if it had not been paucity of time, we would have loved to hear. Sai, you were saying something?
Sir, perhaps with, like you were mentioning in your article also, sir, that social stock exchange is a reality, and even with CSR law mandates impact assessment. So perhaps a dialogue around using these, around 3 lakh professionals on ground built by Rural Livelihoods Mission in the impact aspect, something along that dialogue should be evolved. I mean, I'm going to take this insight from it, sir.
I can assure you that I continue my linkages. I have moved on from there. But through these women organizations and the state team, and we'll be very happy. I am willing to pro bono do anything for you if you want to make use of these women. And you will never repent it later.
No, I'll be happy
to deliver the world for you. Have confidence.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So the floor is now open to any other questions from the audiences.
Yeah, I think we can take
two. May have the control?
Yes, sir.
Any questions for the panel, please?
Right.
So Sai, you had some questions that were already posted.
Yeah, we'll just take 1 or 2 questions. Funny asked them. I think time is also running out.
Sure.
Sir, Ranganathan sir has raised the hand. Ranganathan sir, you can go ahead with the question.
Yes.
It's not me. Actually, Mr. Reddy raised a hand.
Okay. No problem. I think.
No problem, sir.
I think we're good. Funny, you can ask the question which we received on the form. The one about the. Just 1 second.
Yeah.
I'll share.
Yeah, Funny, can you hear me? I'm sorry, I was trying to speak, but the volume was not good enough.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi. So thank you very much for this wonderful session. I'm Rakesh from GMR Varalakshmi Foundation. So it was very insightful for us to understand, the article of Sinha sir and other CSRs, what they're doing. So my particular question is, maybe Ms. Rekha can help me understand on this much better. As you know, channelizing partners, there is a larger responsibility towards United Way and who are on field, who are actually in the process of implementation and monitoring the programs. So I would like to understand, in the process of CSR funds reaching in the right direction to the rural livelihoods, what are the major challenges you may have come across, in identifying the right partners, or in order to implement the projects? What were your learnings, and what do you think can be done better in this area, Ms. Rekha? Thank you.
Okay. One of the biggest challenges that we face is I think somewhere as a sector, many non-profits still operate at a very, very different level. Like when we say that there needs to be an impact measurement, associated when we are thinking about a program design, you should also think about outcome and the impact you are creating. It's many times misunderstood. One is because traditionally, I think social process, any change in the social process does take time, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't have milestones which we are going to achieve. So actually convincing many nonprofits to commit to a milestone towards end of a journey or a middle of the journey with whatever challenges that are there is somewhere where we have found a lot of difficulty. As Sir said, actually, it's much more easier to work with CBOs compared to NGOs for us. So we have found much more openness in committing to a desired outcome among the CBOs, community-based organizations like self-help groups, farmer-producing companies, and or even common work groups, people like that, compared to non-profits. So this is where I feel many times non-profits have not caught up to the speed at which actually whether the government is asking for a change or whether the large-scale grant that is available is requesting them to move towards. So that's where I feel our biggest challenges have been in finding proper implementation partners who are non-profits by nature. So that is where I see it's mostly to do with the mindset, I feel. There is a initial reaction whenever we say, can we look at outcome and milestones, is you don't understand how difficult social, bringing social transformation. So we don't want to commit to it. So they start most of the times with a resistance rather than, okay, can we walk along? See, these are the lists, these are the challenges, and how do we find a solution towards it? So that has been one of the greatest challenges that we as an organization have found, especially if you have to do projects at scale. You are working with multiple partners towards implementation. Your design is common, your goal is same, but you have operational capacities of non-profits at various levels. So getting them to work in sync has been a major challenge that United Way has had till now. Basically changing this mindset. The other challenge we find is also many of them are individual run organizations. It's the passion of an individual. There is no sustainability plan to the organization. So as long as the leader is committed and the leader is alive, is when the organization is, there is no plan for who is going to be the secondary leader. Where else can the decisions happen if the head of the organization is not able to make? So that kind of an org structure in which they function also becomes a challenge, because when you're doing a large scale program, you're looking at sustainability, you're looking at continuity of the process. So when many decision making gets centralized at the founders level, who are also the leaders of the organization, becomes very difficult to implement large scale sustainable projects. So these are the two major challenges that we have encountered. So as a response at United Way, we offer a lot of capacity building programs lot of discussion around sustainability of non-profit organizations. We say, okay, you are expert in a cause area, but have you thought about your org structure? How are you going to sustain your organization? What is your contingency plan? Who is your second level of leadership? What kind of training and capacity building has gone through them? Do you have an HR? Do you have, are you transparent in terms of your compliance requirements, especially towards spending and unutilized grants in your organization? So when we ask all these questions as an offering, we do offer a capacity building process, support to our nonprofits who become part of our large program design. Yeah.
Thank you, Rekha. Any other questions for the panelists?
Thank you. I think there was one
question for EQUIPPP. So, Sai, you want to take that?
Yeah, I think Kritika ma'am had a question. Ma'am, do you want to go ahead and ask? She was sending. I think this is the last question, and we'll wrap the event in 2 minutes.
Hello. So Sai, this thing will take a few minutes. I'm not sure if you have that kind of time, I think.
Yes, if we can wrap in like a couple of minutes, I think we are running 11 minutes late already.
Okay. Wrapping might not be possible, but
That's not because of you, Sai. That's because of me.
Yes, sir.
If I have to do this, I need to do it fully. So if not, I can just do it privately. No problem.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Thanks for inviting me to the call. So a small introduction. I'm Kritika Shankaran, and I've been lucky or otherwise enough to take up leadership positions at a fairly young age. And my work started with research with Harvard and MIT. I'm an engineer, and I was a Young India. I'm a Young India Fellow, and I've led organizations, and now I'm leading an organization of the Kanchi Kamakoti Peetham, and also I have set up my firm that basically works in the intersection of government, academic research, and the policymakers. So I just want to, if the panel allows and the audience allows, throw a little bit of a perspective where I come from. And I have a few observations to which, if something can be added or more light can be thrown on the thought leadership, I'd be super happy to hear. So in my understanding, economies such as Ireland or Singapore or Japan or even China have bounced back from crises that hit them to become pillars or top economies of the globe in barely 35, 40, 50 years. Of course, they had something different to offer rather than found something to offer to the supposedly developed economies and used that as their fundamental strength. Be it a natural resource such as oil in the case of Dubai, or a strategic location for trade in the case of, strategic location in trade, or how land was used in the case of Singapore, or technically trained or skilled personnel in the case of Ireland, or cheap labor in the case of China. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. In my opinion, for India, I think the time is right because we are now an inward-looking nation with direct linkages to our deep and rich civilizational history that define our growth prospects. With a strategic placeholder in the international ecosystem or international relation, with a culturally diverse and inclusive disposition, a liberal and a free market, futuristic growth perspective that define our fundamentals as a fastest major growing economy, as put forth also by the IMF or the World Bank. For India, it's reasonably connected. For India, the strength is the reasonably connected human capital and our civilizational history that basically lays the foundation for our future projected growth. Now, coming to CSR can actually create a dent in the socio-economic fabric if some of the shortcomings in my understanding of things can be addressed. One of which is the fact that NGOs are typically seen as organizations that bridge charity for the poor. But there are growing NGOs that are coming up as game changers for our hubs of innovation today in India. This is embraced more, this kind of sentiment is embraced more in the Western world, like a Hillary Clinton Foundation or an Obama Foundation, etc., that India can catch up with, to this sentiment, that social organizations can actually be game changers, so that the social capital of the social organization can be increased. And so can their growth in collaboration with the other, multi-stakeholders. The second would be CSR in many cases, CSR in many cases, according to what we've seen, funds are allocated in a more mindless and convenient, it's just a matter of convenience, just to do it mindlessly. From that, if it can transform to a more conscious or channelized or relevant and in a planned usage, if it's allocated, then a more collected or holistic growth can happen. Third would be, I think this point has already been addressed in a way. Third would be CSR, instead of being looked at just in a donation or a charity angle, if it is looked at in the direction where resources meet societal growth, if resources meet societal growth prospects and progress happens, a macro socio-economic impact can be created, putting India on the $1 trillion growth trajectory, which integrates again backwards with more FDI, more growth, more development, more collected, putting India on the world map more, right? So in short, we need to capitalize more on our civilizational strength, the best practices that come from there, which basically is our cultural identity, and use the same to steer ourselves to people-centric goals, and that can foster innovation, maybe even some really revolutionary innovation that can happen in this intersection of business, academia, and the government, where the social organization basically can create an impact in that intersection. So this would be my understanding, and I would love for the panel to throw some light on what I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you for that insight, and the question is stress on the cultural capital. Right. Thank you. Sir, any comments on it, or are we ending? Sinha sir or ma'am?
Just a one-liner. If you don't focus on human capital, we'll be nowhere. Let me tell you that unless and until we focus on human capital, the quest for being in the top 50 on ease of doing business should be accompanied with a quest for being in the top 50 on human development as well. Because minus human capital, there is no country in the world which could sustain economic progress at rates which are required for what we are aspiring for. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think we have run 18 minutes late.
Just one more thing to add. I think, yes, we do have a lot of human capital, but all of us are not equal. So though we talk about rich culture and heritage, there is intrinsic inequality when it comes to access to development of human potential. I think that is also something very critical. Unless we do it, you can have n number of policies. It's only people who can access those resources will gain out of it. So that is something that needs to change. That therefore, I think bottom up, like go down, see how you are mobilizing people, how you are collectivizing people, and build your entire capital from there. I think we have very good examples in that way. Pilot, as Sir said, what AP has done under its rural development projects, urban poverty is another thing that I think people should more focus also about. It's much more complicated and it requires a lot more focus. So I think we need to look at all this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, Anu, ma'am.
Thank you very much to all the panelists. Really, it was a pleasure and I think very insightful. We have a lot of takeaways, as Sai said, right, for our tools as well. So really a great evening and great closure to a great beginning to a great productive week, I guess. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, one and all. Thank you very much. I think we'll end the call here.
Thanks.
Thank you, Anu ma'am. Thank you, Raj sir. Thank you, Sinha sir.